I'm going to do a little introduction. I'm going to turn it over to Marcia Bryant, who's going to speak on the site plan, rezoning, and the how-tos, which I'll kind of give an overview of where we are versus where we've been. So the collective goals of this platform. Number one, to provide a greater level of customer service to you folks. This is not just an investment for development services. This is investment with the fire department, with public services, with the city manager's office, and with city council to provide a more efficient way to meet your needs, the needs of the development community. Improved communication from us to you, and also communication in-house. So although we're in the city, we have our own challenges of different departments and different agencies working together to review and approve your plans. So this helps us look everything together in a congruent fashion and make sure all of our comments are consistent so we can deliver a better package to you. Accountability, which is very important. It allows you and us to hold ourselves accountable, meaning everything, as we'll discuss, is time and date stamped. Documentation is recorded, so you can see where we've been, if we've met our benchmark of plan review timeliness, and so forth. And ease of service delivery, meaning you technically, if you did not want to, other than questions and answers with Marcia's team and TRC, you would not have to come to City Hall to submit or pick up. Everything is done distantly, from your office, from your home, from another state, from another country. So this allows you a lot more versatility and your staff more versatility in how you submit. Plan review software. The city signed a contract with IDT Plans in 2017, and since then we have been developing our plan review software, and like I said earlier, not just for development services, but for the fire department's review of site plans and fire permits. We're working on building construction documents, construction permits, stormwater reviews with public services, so many different things involved in this. This actual platform, IDT Plans, is used by other local municipalities. How many have used IDT Plans? Anybody in the room that's used it before? You have, Lori. Several communities in the Triangle and Triad have used this, and it's great because we're using their partnership with us as a way to say, what did you learn? What were some obstacles you had to overcome? Of course, it's change. And with anything, we won't change, but we're hesitant to change. So that's one thing we're working through as a group right now. Transferred existing hard copy and face-to-face programs into a digital platform. It's of my opinion, and maybe I'm an old soul, but there's still value in face-to-face conversations, but needed face-to-face conversations. So we will still be available to meet your needs whenever you need us. But this allows you to be more efficient at your duties as well. And phased implementation. We're discussing today, and it's there won't be a test, but this is phase one. The site plan and the rezonings are considered phase one. Phase two will be building permits, zoning permits, and so forth, and smaller ones on phase three. Phase one implementation. For the technical review committee, we have our pre-application and courtesy review, our subdivision plan, our major site plan, final plat exempt subdivision, and clear cutting permit review. For zoning map amendments, and Craig Harmon's in the back. He's our staff liaison for that. Rezoning special use, assorted commission activities, notice of appeal, administrative appeal of personnel decisions, and a COA for the HRC, which is our Historic Resources Commission. And public services, which they're using it for a project management review for internal purposes, city commercial driveway permits, and NCDOT commercial driveway permits. So it's important to note that some of the agents and reviewers that sit on various committees are external, PwC, DOT, and so forth. They have access to this program as well to facilitate their review. So while DOT may have their own requirements that the city is not part of, that you still have to meet, our part in that process is to facilitate this on a digital platform to make it easier for you folks. And if anybody would like a copy of this list of stuff, just let me know and we'll email it to you afterwards. I'll pass out Marcia's business card. Benefits of e-development. On-demand status updates. Once you log in, you can see the status checks of your review. You can see who's reviewed, who has not reviewed, and you can look at the comments that have been posted. You will receive emails at certain phases when your project is submitted, when it has been sent for review, when it's completed review with a comment letter and resubmittals. The process is very transparent. It's real time, meaning that once a comment is embedded from a reviewer, you can look at it. And like I said before, you can see the overall status of how much longer you have to go. Remote operation, self-explanatory. One of the big items that's really City Council is a proponent of is online payment. We will be able to accept credit cards through the IDT program, the e-development platform. Knowing that some of the projects may exceed the limits of certain corporate credit cards, we still accept payments in person. And even if it's a $50 review fee, you can still pay in person. For credit cards, I would be remiss if I didn't mention there is a convenience fee by the city. It's a $3.50 convenience fee per transaction. So with online payments, you would incur that cost. Accountability. Everything will be date and time stamped. All of our communications, all of our actions. Email notifications will be sent at each phase. And we're going to use this on an administrative level as a performance measurement tool of turnaround times, set benchmarks for turnaround times. We have certain benchmarks now, but with this platform that if you have a laptop you can review, we're going to reevaluate those turnaround times to see or can we do better. It's continuous improvement is our goal. Any questions so far? This is your training, very informal. I know y'all just don't want to get in front of the microphone. You want to wait till after. Steps to the review process, and I'm going to briefly introduce some topics that Marcia's going to talk about. Step number 1, applicant registration. A free step, an essential step that you do to register your firm and your agency and yourself for usage in IDT. Applicant submittal is where you upload documents to the IDT system, choosing which path you want to go, whether it's TRC review or other paths. At that time, too, you would have the option to pay for the review at the time you submit documents, or you can always pay in person here, as we currently do. After the documents have been submitted, we will perform an intake review, which is to make sure that we have enough information to actually review the process. That is not the permit review. That is the intake review to make sure you have given everything we need to review it, just so it doesn't waste your time. Sometimes we have very limited information, and it just makes a constant re-review process. So the intake review is make sure we have everything. Staff review, which is the plan review that we currently do, and that leads to the issuance of comments. And one cool thing about this is that staff, once they look on IDT, they can see the comments made by other staff members. If planning is looking at a site plan and the fire department or public services has already reviewed that, they can look at the fire department comments and public services comments, where now we take all the comments and combine it. Everything is already there. So that in itself will lead to more of a consistent message back to you. After the issuance of comments, you can resubmit. If the plan was not approved, you can resubmit to address the comments, the particular comments, and it gives you a space to go in underneath and reply to that particular comment. I have corrected this on sheet C1 or so forth. And after we re-review and everything's good, approval. So some key points to remember. The process of the fee payment before the actual review, as we currently do, still stands as part of the process. Email notifications at each step, I can't say that enough. The ability to view comments. So you can look and you can check the status of each agency or reviewer, and you can view the comments. What you can't do is address the comments while the process is still in review. But you can start working on your plan for resubmittal. That's very important to understand. You can look at the comments, you can start working, but until the project is resubmitted, you can't formally address those comments. But that gives you the leverage and ability to start planning your how I need to address those things. We are available to assist with this process. This is new for you, and it's also new for us. So today, there will be some questions we can answer, and there will be some questions we will consult with our IDT consultation staff and IT, and we promise to get you back an answer. But we will be available. I commit myself and I commit staff to say we will be available to assist anyone with this process. And as I said before, we will still have the availability of face-to-face meetings available for your projects. TRC, we will still have the TRC process, but anything outside, if you need to meet, we will be available. This is not to distance ourselves from you. This is to create a closer relationship with you. So, any questions? So far, so good. Insight? You like what you're seeing? Okay. I will turn it over to Ms. Bryant. There was a question presented earlier, and it was a very good question. Can different agencies have more than one administrator? And that question was presented by Ms. Epler. So one thing we're going to research from IDT is, can different agencies have more than one administrator for IDT when you're submitting plans? So we documented that, and we'll get back to you on that.
I'm going to quickly, I hope, walk through the process of submitting plans through the new e-development software. On the agenda is the portal website address, and when you log into it, this is what you're going to see. The first thing you would do is sign up if you haven't already registered, and then after that you will sign in, and I'm going to quickly sign in. Oh, shoot. I always forget my password. Yes, because I had that laying up here and I have no idea where it's at. So the first thing to remember is use your email address that you want all of the notification emails to come to, because even as we progress into allowing for building permit submittals and things, that same email address will be what all the notifications go to. And remember your password. So, as a submitter, the three large keys are the keys that you will be using. Staff, the keys at the top, are more for staff things that we deal with. So you will go to Building and Planning Reviews. At this page, you will select the category that you're submitting for, and right now we're dealing with planning and zoning reviews. The screen's very large. And the application type, and let's see here. So for this, we're just going to do a pre-application courtesy review. It's a very simple submittal process, and it doesn't require a fee. Those are free. So once you've done that, you can save. The main thing I want to talk about through this process or any of your submittals is the need for you to include all of the information on your application. Because staff cannot go back in and add stuff to the application. And some people have been using this already as a test, and we find that some of the data is not entered, and we can't go back and add, information that's really applicable to the plan. This is just asking you to acknowledge the fact that you realize what you need to submit with the application. And if you actually have comments that you want to add about something in particular, you can do that. And again, it's asking you acknowledge that you realize all of this information is required. Add comments about a particular item if you need to.
Marcia, these questions were also taken from our existing applications, so most of these questions are what you would normally fill out.
That's right.
If you submitted through the city of Fayetteville before.
That's correct. You can enter an address at this point or a PIN number. If you don't have a PIN number, which hopefully you will, but you don't have to have one. So let's just put in an address, and it'll ask you if it's verified. If you don't have a PIN number, you'll just submit it as unverified. But because I put this in before, it comes up as verified. And another thing I want to point out is, as you enter in information about your contact, your name, your address, your phone number, your email, all of that stuff does not have to be entered in every time. Once you enter it in the first time, it allows you to select the name. When you start to type it the next time, it'll come up and you can just select it.
Marcia, on the address,
Uh-huh.
if you don't have an address or a PIN, maybe it's 5 different PINs and it's not been addressed, is there any information that you'd like to see there?
Well, it allows you to enter in multiple PIN numbers. So you should have a PIN number for a site or an address if it's an existing building or something that you're adding on to in addition.
You guys will see whatever we type in there, so we can type something, intersection of so-and-so.
That's right. But when it starts asking you these questions on the application, it is really important that you add, you include all the information. And actually, when the application is received by staff, if it doesn't have all of the information on the application, we can decline the application. We don't want to do that, but like I said, we can't go back in and add it, so it's important that it's on there. And it's basically just simple questions moving through. This is where I mentioned if you've already entered in information, it'll pop up. So you don't have to, continually add in the same information over and over. So then at the end, it gives you an overview of the data you've put in, and it will ask you several times to confirm that you're, ready to submit it. This page is important because this is where it allows you to upload your documents. You can upload whatever you would normally submit in hard copy. You would upload it in this spot. But what's important is you can invite a consultant to upload information as well. And so if you're the engineer and you want to upload the site plan and you have an architect who's going to provide the facade elevations, you can invite that person to join in on this application. And that way they will be able to see all of the information as well, and they can comment back on our elevation or facade comments. The same thing with the lighting plan or landscape plan. They can join in on the application and be involved in responding to the comments as well. So with the pre-application, there's no fee involved, so we don't go through that part of it. But of course, with normal applications, there will be a fee. It'll calculate the fee automatically based on the information you've entered. And as Mr. Martin said, you can make the payment online, or you can just bring us a check in as you would normally do. So again, it's asking me to confirm and submit for review. Am I sure I want to do that? Yes. So, at this point, you will receive an email.
You can accept them.
This is the registration address, which is on the application. And this is the email that you would get, letting you know that yes, your submittal was successful and the plan has been submitted. Once it's successfully submitted, staff receives an email that lets us know there's something waiting for us to take care of. So we will go in at that point in time and review the information that you've put in, and we can accept or decline the submittal. If we accept the submittal, you will get another email letting you know that we have accepted it. And what's important about this email is it gives you the TRC date and time, the TRC meeting date and time. And in all of the emails, it will have a link to your project. So anytime you get an email, it will provide a link that will take you back to your project. So once staff has accepted the application, you've received the email letting you know staff has accepted it and the TRC date and time. Staff then assigns reviewers. We select the staff members who we think need to review your project. And once we select those staff members, they will get an email notifying them that there's a plan that they need to look at. And at that point in time, staff will enter in their comments into open issues. There's an open issue button that staff enters in their comments, and they also have to sign off. There's another page, a plan review process flow chart. They have to sign off that, yes, I've looked at it, I've entered in my comments, and I'm done with it. So once you have, once staff has reviewed the project, you will get another email. This email will indicate that the comments are attached and that the comments are in the computer for you to go and look at if you want to look at it online. And as I said, you see at the bottom of the email is a link that will take you back to your project. Yes?
Is there any mechanism in this process? A lot of our clients are really hands-on and they like to see the comments on their project from the city as soon as they can and know the status of their reviews. Is there a way that our clients can access this information and not have access to every project that we submit?
The client won't have access to it unless you invite them.
For that particular project.
Now, they will get an email, if you put that information in there, they'll get an email letting them know that it's been submitted, that it's been accepted, but I don't think that they can go in, that's another thing we need to ask Katie. I don't think they can go in and look at the application without,
I think if the applicant invites,
Yeah.
they can have a view only, but we can certainly get the specifics from that from Katie.
yeah, I think anybody that's invited on that one page I was showing you can go in and see the information. Other than that, it's just going to be an email saying it's been submitted, it's been accepted. But we'll, like Michael said, we'll verify that. So, again, once you get the email letting you know that the comments are in, that people have signed off, and the comments will also be attached. And at any point in time, you can go in and look at the comments yourself, as Michael mentioned, but you cannot, resubmit until everybody has signed off on it. And, it's gone through the entire process. So after you submit and you want to go back to look at your project, this is what you would see. And going to try to go back to the portal. It says thank you for submitting. It will have a view the project, submit another project, return to the submittal overview. Remember that anytime you're within anywhere in the program, if you're not sure how to go back or how to get to the page that you're looking for, you can always click on the City of Fayetteville icon and it will take you to the home page. That's another thing to remember.
Marcia, can I interject just 1 second before I forget? On the home page, you see the Projects tab on the left-hand side. As additional municipalities, if they do choose IDT, there's several in North Carolina now, you can look at all projects that you have submitted to all municipalities under your Projects tab, not just Fayetteville. So this is others embrace IDT, which is the corporate name. We're calling it e-development as a Fayetteville brand, but you can look at all of your projects that you submit through this platform.
Yes, and when you go to projects, you can see my projects. So it will, and one thing to remember with this page is it automatically comes up to bid projects. I had asked, could they change that? Because you get the page and you think, oh, there's no projects. But you actually have to go to the next tab, which is Plans Review Projects. And your project should be there, which mine isn't, but.
Marcia, can I make one more comment?
Sure, here we go.
With the submittal of the actual package or your plans, we've seen two ways. We've seen a PDF submitted, which is 30 pages, like a batch submittal, and we've seen individual pages, which the program is based on the submittal of individual pages because that's how your comment letter will be turned back, meaning on page C.0, C.1, it will list the individual comments for that individual page of the plans that has needed revisions or issues. So it's it may take a little longer, not too much longer. It's very easy, but it's really effective and efficient if you do individual pages. Does everybody understand what I'm saying when I say that? Instead of doing a 30-page, okay.
Mm-hmm. Because the plans review software that's associated with this system is Bluebeam. So when we actually want to call up the plans that we've attached, we do that in Bluebeam, and we can mark it up, we can cloud it, we can overlay the first submittal with the second submittal and see what the differences are. You can measure on it. You're probably more familiar with Bluebeam than I am, but it allows you to do a lot of things online versus having to do it on hard copy. So when you go to your plans review, you can see that your project's in there. You can click on it and go back to it. Another thing I wanted to mention about your last email that you will get, at this point when your comments are attached and it lets you know the review's been completed, it will also tell you that your next step is to submit for your preliminary, because we started with a pre-application, it'll tell you what your next step is, that your next step is to submit for your preliminary review through the technical review committee. Let's go back to the portal. There's also a help desk, which has attached the user's guide, which we have some printed copies of. There's training videos about registration or plan submittal that you can watch.
And they're very informative. Katie with IDT put those on yesterday, and like this, they are very technical, but simplistic in the manner that if you have a question, I think the videos could assist you.
Mm-hmm. There's also support from the IDT staff as well as internal staff to the city. The IDT program itself has staff available that can help you. Another thing I wanted to mention, when you call up your plans that are submitted, and you open them up, as I mentioned, you can see what staff members have signed off and who hasn't, and the comments they've made. But if you are involved in submitting plans with other municipalities who use the same system, like Apex or Wake Forest or Greenville, I think, or Greensboro, you would also see the plans that you've submitted through them, because you're using that one email address, and all the plans from the various locations would be in the system. And the most important slide, I think, is not that one. Are the key things to remember and to know. We need complete information on the application, which includes your contact information as well as the other people involved in the submittal, such as your architect or your landscape architect, and the owner applicant. We need their information as well. You can invite others to join you in the submittal, as I mentioned, and submit those plans and see those comments and deal with them individually versus you having to work with them via emails or phone conversations. You can look at the application and the open issues at any time. You will receive emails notifying you that it's been accepted, your submittal was complete, it's been accepted, the date and time of the TRC meeting. As I mentioned, you cannot change your application or attachments after it's accepted. You have to wait for it to go through the entire process. And the emails have links to them taking you back to your project page. And you can always click on the City of Fayetteville e-Development icon to take you back to the home page if you're trying to figure out where you are in the process and get back. I think that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
I have one about the invite. Would the invited people get the notifications of, it's been submitted, it's been reviewed? Do they get that feedback back?
Mm-hmm.
So could it be standard protocol then to say the 3 people in the office that are gonna be working on that project, just go ahead and log in and invite those 2 people to the project, and that way all 3 people in your office get all the notifications and have access to the project?
Yeah, you can do that. If that would be beneficial to you, sure. Does anybody else have any questions?
Just the question presented was, would the individuals that were invited to look at this project also receive notifications that the applicant would receive? Yes, they would.
Yes.
As the engineer, if we're doing a site plan submittal and we're going to invite the architect to join in, do we have to put in the architect's information on initial application, or can we invite them and let them fill in their own information?
The application needs to be completed, and the question was, information for the initial application. Can other individuals complete that application, or can it be deferred at a later time? The application would need to be completed before the submittal. So if the architect's not known at that time, we don't need that. But at a later time, you can invite that architect to submit and or comment as the progress rolls along.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, it seems like a lot of stuff to enter in, but once you put it in one time, it'll pop up, and so you can automatically select it and don't have to go back through the address, name, phone number.
So are you saying that if we use one architect on job A, and we go to enter a separate submittal on job B, that architect is gonna still come up as one of our options, or we have to enter it for that separate project?
Oh, it'll still come up as an option.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So if we've got one developer that uses the same architect and we're doing their submittals, we won't have to enter it but one time and then it'll be an option.
Right, or if you work with one builder or one owner.
And that question, just repeating it for the folks that are going to look at it later, is if you fill out if you input information for a designer, such as an architect for a project, would that designer be included in a later project? And the answer would be yes. Marcia, October the 15th?
Yes. We've been testing this program. We've invited folks to submit through IDT, Development, as well as submitting hard copies. But as of our go-live date, we're working toward is October 15th. We will require all submittals to come through e-development and not require any hard copies after that date. And again, you can pay online or you can bring in a check. Another thing I wanted to mention about payment online, when you get to that page, you'll select, I think it says pay, I'm not really sure of the language, but it's something to the effect of pay at a later date. You'll just select that and it'll move the project forward. And then once we actually get the check, staff will go in and put in the check number and put in the amount and, log it into that application. If you don't select payment at a later date or whatever the verbiage is, it kind of puts the application on hold. And to begin with, staff wasn't even getting notification of it. So it was kind of out there in no man's land. And I asked the consultant if we could get staff could get a notification that it's there. So you don't think it's been submitted and we don't know it's there. We'll get notification to know there's something out there pending that we need to take care of. So, and then when you resubmit your revisions or your additional paperwork, you'll go back into the same application and just build on it until it's approved, final approval. And as staff, we can go back in and look at all of the email transactions, all of the dates and times that each staff member approved it, looked at it, and dealt with it. So it's transparent that we can all see that. That's all I have, unless you have other questions for me. We appreciate y'all coming.
Sure.
So every department that typically comments on our comment sheet, including the Department of Transportation and PWC, will use the same method?
Yes, external agencies have access. So what may happen, since we're in the beginning phases, what may happen is they may relay information to Marcia and her staff, and we may put that same information in. But we're not going to let that information circumvent this platform we have in place. So this is new. We've built it, we've torn it apart, we fixed it, we've torn it apart again, and we've noticed a lot of nuances. We've noticed some things that we like, and we've noticed some things that we're fixing. But I do ask that everyone have patience, that we will, if there is an issue or a challenge, we will address it. I think this is a very, very, very positive thing for the city, and I think it'll be a great thing for you folks. So, yes, sir.
If we pick up on something that is wrong or could be improved, what would you have us do with that information?
Let us know. We're collecting comments as well to see what we could do better. Because this is phase one and we're building out other phases. So myself, I've got my card. Marcia, any staff member, let us know that, hey, I like it, this could do better, or I don't like it. We need your feedback. So just phone call, email, visit, anything, let us know.
One other thing I wanted to mention is the program links reviews together. For instance, with Craig, he's going to start accepting rezoning, unconditional zoning, and special use applications through this program. Well, that also triggers a technical review committee, a review. So those two different applications will be linked together through this program, and all of that information will hopefully tie together, and we'll just build on it and can refer back to that parcel and see all the things that have happened with it.
There was a comment earlier on the security of plans. As everything we do is public record, the storage of plans is still considered the security issue. So IDT has very secure databases that stores the electronic submittal plans. And if you need additional information, if clients are concerned, let us know. We can get you some more technical information concerning that. I'm going to, Mr. Newton, Jerry Newton, our Development Services Director, just walked in a little earlier, and I think he has a couple of comments for us.
Thank you for putting this together. And you guys know that it's so you can hear it now, but others can look and listen to it later. We realize that the whole process of developing in our community is a whole bunch of people working together. And this portal is one way that we're trying to improve how we're getting everything done. We do recognize, though, as Michael has pointed out, in a easy way, he said that they've taken it apart and put it back together. It's about a dozen times. But each time they've done it, it's gotten better. So this isn't a jalopy that you have that's been taken from a whole bunch of different parts, where I'm thinking of a country song, and I've got to let my mind settle back into the focus. This is actually a product that has been used in many jurisdictions, and it works, but it relies on everybody being held accountable. And that's what we really like, because it makes everything transparent. So everybody will know what's going on, who's doing what, when, and we do expect that there'll be some issues that we don't have figured out yet. So, sir, absolutely let us know if something isn't working quite right or better. We've done the alpha and a beta testing on it, but we know that there's some other issues with it. Again, thank you for being here. The Development Services Office is being designed and continues to work to make development better in Fayetteville. This, to me, is one big way that we can reach out beyond our boundaries to get all the places that are involved in any of the reviews and the development community working together on it. So, Marcia, thanks for all your great work that you do all the time. This puts a little bit less pressure on her to try to run around to a half dozen different organizations and seeing what's going on. If Michael didn't announce it at the beginning, we also have a similar position for once you start going vertical with buildings. Many of you in the building part will hear that. I'm going to have him take over on that. Thank you for attending.
Great caveat, and no, we're not extending it. We'll get you out. As you notice on the portal, coming soon, trade permits. So building and planning reviews, phase 2 of this will encompass construction ground-up reviews. which is will utilize some of the same information that you submitted for the site plan, and trade permits. So for simple trade permits in the construction community, such as a air conditioning changeout, or a little bit more technical things, you can submit online. So this is revolutionary in terms of how we as a city can reach out to assist you folks. Any other questions? That clock's wrong. So it is 10 o'clock, and if we don't have any other questions, that is the end of our training program. Thank you.